17 years ago, on the 29th of January 2009, Zimbabwe's national budget was presented in United States dollars for the first time in history, a quiet but unmistakable signal that the Zimbabwean dollar had stopped functioning as money. This week in Zimbabwean history, we revisit that moment that would reshape Zimbabwe's monetary policy to this day. Zimbabwe's monetary crisis did not appear overnight. From November 1997, the once regional breadbasket was struck by financial woes that 3 decades later continued to haunt the country. But it would be January 2009 when the country stopped using its currency as money. This film asks 3 questions. How did money lose all meaning? Why was abandoning the currency the only option left? And what can a country do to prevent this from happening ever again? First, how did money lose all meaning? The answer is trust. Money only works when people believe it will hold value tomorrow, but once that belief collapses, the banknote ceases to matter. By the late 2000s, the Zimbabwean economy was weak. It had suffered an enduring pressure from declining confidence in the government, falling production, and foreign currency shortages. To meet its growing obligations, the state increasingly relied on printing money, and inflation rose steadily, bit by bit. Then it accelerated. Then it became uncontrollable. By 2008, prices were no longer measured monthly or weekly. They doubled within hours. The Reserve Bank responded by issuing larger and larger denominations, from millions to billions to trillions. On the 16th of January 2009, the $100 trillion note officially entered circulation, the largest denomination ever officially printed by a central bank. But the $1 trillion note meant nothing when a trip into the city center cost way more at sunset than it did at sunrise. Number 2, why was abandoning the currency the only option left? The answer is trust. Long before the announcement for dollarization, the public had already adapted. Markets were quoting prices in United States dollars, South African rands, and the Botswana pula. Bus fares were negotiated in fuel, food, or foreign cash. School fees and medical bills were increasingly demanded in hard currency. Officially, all this was illegal as 2 economies were existing side by side. While one economy was printing money, the other used real money. As such, even though the Zimbabwean dollar existed in law, it did not exist in trust. Enter 29 January 2009, 13 days after the issuance of the $100 trillion note. Acting Finance Minister Patrick Shinamasa stood in Parliament and delivered a budget that was a white flag. Prior to that budget, the government had insisted that using the United States dollar was economic sabotage. But on that day, Shinamasa stood and announced the national budget calculated in United States dollars, not in Zimbabwean dollars. It was irony. A government that had spent over a decade fighting Western influence was officially surrendering its monetary sovereignty to the United States Treasury. The impact was twofold. On one hand, there was collective relief across the country. Hyperinflation was stopped almost immediately. But dollarization had a cost. Savings and pensions disappeared, and at least 2 generations lost decades of financial planning. So even though the economy had at least stabilized, a new trauma had been unleashed. Question 3. How does a country prevent this from happening again? The answer again is trust. For a currency to be stable, the public has to believe that tomorrow's money will still mean something. The people also have to trust that the central bank has the discipline to place limits on how much money can be created. Without that trust, money dies, And in essence, the Zimbabwean dollar did not die because people rejected it, but because people felt it no longer protected them. Today, the legacy of the billion and trillion dollar notes is often treated as a curiosity. They are often used as souvenirs and bookmarks. Yet behind them lies a period of deep economic trauma that Zimbabweans still carry with them. For those of you who lived through the collapse of the Zimbabwean dollar, what do you remember most? And how did it shape your sense of security and trust in money? Please let me know in the comments below. And with that, we come to the end of this week in Zimbabwean history. Please do check out other interesting snippets of Zimbabwean history on this channel and join in the conversation by highlighting experiences and stories, if any, in the comments. And while here, do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. For now, goodbye and till next week.